Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to subscribe to Relationship Stories for more captivating content. You won't want to miss what's coming up next. What happens when an affair leads to unexpected consequences? In today's story, Jackie finds herself trapped in a web of lies after cheating on her husband, Marty, with his best friend, Sam. Guilt, betrayal, and heartbreak unravel as Jackie faces the reality of her choices, with her marriage hanging by a thread. Will Marty forgive her, or will revenge take hold? You won't want to miss this emotional roller coaster.
Jackie stared at the pregnancy test in her hand, her heart pounding in her chest. The two pink lines that had appeared felt like a life sentence. She sank onto the bathroom floor, trembling, as the realization washed over her. She was pregnant, and the baby wasn't Marty's. She hadn't meant for it to happen. It started as harmless flirting, a distraction from the monotony of everyday life. Sam, her husband's friend, had been persistent, charming in a way that made her feel alive again. But things had spiraled out of control. The night she slept with Sam, it had been a mistake, and Jackie knew it the moment it happened. She had let her guard down, telling herself it would end there.
This has to stop,
she told herself, but Sam wouldn't let go. Every day she received messages from him, his constant reminders of their secret eating away at her. Sam didn't want to stop. He reveled in the thrill of their affair, but Jackie was suffocating under the weight of her guilt. She had to end it. She had to put things right before Marty found out. Jackie sat at the kitchen table, her phone in her hand, fingers shaking as she typed a message to Sam.
We need to talk. It's over.
Her heart raced as she hit send, waiting for the inevitable response. Her phone buzzed seconds later.
Come on, Jackie. You know it's not over. We were good together.
His words twisted in her gut. She had let things go too far, and now Sam wouldn't back off. She had to make him understand that it was a mistake, that it couldn't continue.
It was a mistake, Sam. I love Marty. This has to end.
But Sam's response was the same. He pushed, prodded, refused to accept that she was serious about stopping. Jackie felt trapped, suffocated by her guilt and the situation she had created. The guilt gnawed at her, day and night. Every time she looked at Marty, her heart broke. He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve the lies she had spun to keep him in the dark. But how could she confess now? She was pregnant, and the child wasn't his. How could she destroy the man who had done nothing but love her? She had tried to distance herself from Sam, but the damage was done. Her thoughts raced constantly. How had she let this happen? How had she been so weak, so easily swayed? Jackie hated herself for it. The tension between her and Marty grew. He wasn't oblivious. He had noticed the way she flinched when he touched her, how she avoided his eyes. Jackie knew he suspected something, but he hadn't confronted her. Not yet.
Jackie, we need to talk.
Marty said one night, his voice heavy with suspicion. Jackie's heart leapt into her throat. He knew. He had to know.
What's going on with you? You've been distant for weeks. I can feel it. Is there someone else?
Jackie froze. This was the moment she had been dreading. The lie was right there on her lips, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. She couldn't keep hiding the truth.
Yes,
She whispered, tears welling in her eyes.
there is.
Marty's face went pale.
Who?
The silence stretched between them like a noose tightening around her neck. She had no choice now.
It's Sam.
Marty's eyes widened in disbelief as the name hung in the air between them. His best friend. The betrayal hit him like a sledgehammer.
Sam?
He growled, his voice low and dangerous.
You slept with Sam?
Jackie couldn't speak. She just nodded, the tears now spilling freely down her cheeks. Marty stood up abruptly, pacing the room, his hands balled into fists. He slammed his hand against the wall, the sound echoing through the house.
How long?
He demanded, his voice shaking with rage.
How long has this been going on, Jackie?
It was just once.
She sobbed, her voice barely audible.
I was drunk. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't want it to happen.
And now you're pregnant.
Marty spat, his voice filled with disgust.
And the baby isn't mine, is it?
Jackie's silence was all the confirmation Marty needed. He stared at her, a mixture of anger and heartbreak flashing across his face. Jackie could see the devastation in his eyes, and it shattered her. Marty's anger was palpable, filling the room like a storm about to break. He turned away from Jackie, his chest heaving with the effort to contain his fury. The betrayal was too much to bear. His best friend and his wife, together.
I can't believe this.
He muttered under his breath.
I trusted you. I trusted Sam.
He punched the wall again, harder this time, leaving a crack in the plaster. Jackie flinched at the sound, her guilt crushing her. She wished she could take it all back, undo the mistakes that had led them to this point.
I'm sorry, Marty.
She cried, her voice breaking.
I didn't stop him. I should have, but I didn't. I was weak and I let it happen. But I love you. I swear, I love you.
Marty let out a bitter laugh, his back still turned to her.
Love? You call this love? You slept with my best friend Jackie. You didn't stop him. You let it happen. How am I supposed to believe you love me after that?
Jackie stood frozen, her heart breaking as she realized how deeply she had hurt him. There was no going back from this. She had destroyed everything.
It was a mistake.
She pleaded.
I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear it won't happen again.
But Marty shook his head, his expression hardened.
You expect me to believe that? You expect me to just forgive you and move on like nothing happened?
Jackie fell silent, knowing that no amount of pleading would erase the damage she had done. After what felt like an eternity of silence, Marty turned to face her, his eyes cold and unreadable.
You've got 3 choices,
he said, his voice steady but icy.
You can get rid of the baby, have an abortion. We can try to move on from this.
Jackie recoiled at the suggestion, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach.
Or,
Marty continued,
you can have the baby and give it up for adoption. I won't raise another man's child. I won't do it, Jackie.
Jackie felt the weight of his words pressing down on her, but she remained silent, knowing the third option was coming.
Or you can leave,
he said flatly.
You can leave and raise the child on your own, with someone else. But don't expect me to stick around and watch you do it.
Jackie's heart sank. Marty was offering her no way back into his life, no way to fix what had been broken. He was done with her, no matter which option she chose.
I love you, Jackie.
He said, his voice cracking for the first time.
But I can't forget this. I can't raise that child. It's over.
With the strain on their marriage, will it survive? Jackie returned to her parents' home to think things over. The distance between her and Marty felt like a chasm that couldn't be crossed. Her family was disappointed, angry with her for what she had done, but they didn't offer any solutions. Jackie was isolated, left alone with her guilt and the impossible choices she had to make. She and Marty still spoke on the phone, but their conversations were strained and brief. Marty's voice was distant, cold. He resented her for keeping the baby, even if she planned to give it up for adoption. He saw it as a betrayal, another way she had chosen the affair over their marriage. While Jackie was away, Marty's anger festered, growing into something darker. He couldn't let it go. He couldn't let Sam get away with what he had done. He started plotting, carefully, meticulously. It wasn't enough to cut Sam out of his life. Marty needed revenge. Over the next few months, Marty went after Sam's career. He made calls, spread rumors, planted doubts about Sam's trustworthiness with anyone who would listen. Slowly, Sam's reputation unraveled. His business deals started falling through. His financial stability crumbled. It wasn't enough for Marty to see Sam suffer. He wanted to ruin him completely.
He took everything from me.
Marty thought bitterly, watching from a distance as Sam's life began to fall apart.
Now it's his turn.
The bitterness consumed him. and he threw himself into the act of revenge with a focus and intensity that surprised even him. This wasn't the man Jackie had married, the quiet, gentle Marty who avoided conflict at all costs. This was a man driven by anger and hurt, a man who couldn't let go of the betrayal that had torn his life apart. As Jackie's absence stretched on, someone else stepped in to fill the void. Marie, the neighbor who had always been kind to Marty and their children, began helping out more and more. She was there for Marty when the weight of the betrayal was too much to bear, listening to him, comforting him. She was there for the kids too, picking them up from school, helping with homework. Marie's presence was soothing, a balm for Marty's raw emotions. She didn't push him, didn't demand anything from him. She just listened, understanding the pain he was going through, showing him compassion during his darkest moments. Slowly, Marty found himself relying on her more and more. He didn't mean for it to happen, but the emotional bond between them grew. Marie wasn't just a friend anymore. She was something more. After giving the baby up for adoption, Jackie finally returned home, hoping to salvage what remained of her marriage. But when she walked through the door, she found her worst fears realized. Marie was there, in her home, with Marty and the children. The life she had hoped to return to was gone. Marty greeted her, his expression guarded. He had waited for this moment, unsure of what he would say, unsure of what Jackie would expect.
You're back.
He said, his voice neutral.
Yeah, I'm back.
She echoed, her heart heavy with dread. She glanced at Marie, who stood quietly by, unsure of her place in this reunion.
What's going on, Marty?
Jackie asked, though she already knew the answer. Marty looked away, guilt flashing across his face.
I didn't mean for it to happen.
He said, his voice strained.
But Marie was here for me. She helped me when I was falling apart. She helped with the kids, and one thing led to another.
Jackie's heart broke all over again. She had expected pain, but this was worse than she imagined. She had been replaced. Jackie stood frozen, her eyes welling with tears. She had feared this moment, but nothing could have prepared her for the sight of Marie standing there, integrated into the life that Jackie had left behind. She felt displaced, a stranger in her own home.
You and Marie?
She asked, barely able to get the words out.
It wasn't intentional, Jackie.
Marty said, his voice strained with the weight of his own guilt.
I didn't set out to replace you, Jackie. But after everything that happened, after you left, I needed someone. I was falling apart, and Marie was here. She helped me through the worst of it.
Jackie's heart ached. Marty's words felt like a dagger, each one twisting deeper. She had caused this. She had pushed him away, and in her absence, someone else had stepped into her role.
So, what now?
She asked, her voice trembling.
Is she staying?
Marty's silence spoke volumes. He couldn't look her in the eye.
I don't know what to do, Jackie.
He admitted, his voice soft.
I still love you. I do. But I can't let Marie go either. She's been there for me and for the kids in ways I didn't expect. I owe her a lot.
Jackie stared at him, the full weight of his words sinking in. He wanted to keep both of them. He wanted Marie to stay, even with Jackie back in the picture.
You're asking me to share you?
She asked, incredulous. Later, Marty's shoulders sagged, his guilt palpable.
I don't know what else to do.
He said, his voice cracking.
I've hurt you, and I know that. But I've hurt Marie too. She stood by me when I thought I'd lost everything. I can't just turn my back on her now.
The words hung in the air, and Jackie felt a crushing weight on her chest. This was the result of her infidelity, her betrayal. The man she loved was torn between her and another woman, someone who had picked up the pieces after Jackie had broken him. Marty's proposal hung in the air, impossible to ignore. He was asking Jackie to accept something that went against everything she had believed their marriage stood for. But at the same time, she couldn't deny her own role in bringing them to this point. Her affair with Sam had shattered the trust between them, and now the consequences of her actions were laid bare before her.
I never wanted this.
Marty said, his voice barely above a whisper.
But I can't let either of you go. Marie was there for me when I had no one else, and she deserves more than just to be pushed aside. But Jackie, I still love you.
Jackie felt the sting of his words. He still loved her, but now he also felt obligated to Marie. It was a painful truth she couldn't ignore. The thought of sharing her husband with another woman filled her with dread, but she knew that Marty wasn't asking this out of cruelty. He was torn, trapped by the conflicting emotions brought on by everything that had happened. Marie, who had been silent through all of this, finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but there was strength in her words.
I don't want to take anything away from you, Jackie.
She said gently.
I know this situation is complicated, but I love Marty too. I've seen what he's been through, and I've been by his side. I only want what's best for him and the children.
Jackie looked at Marie, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. This woman wasn't her enemy. She was someone who had helped Marty through his darkest moments, someone who genuinely cared for him. But that didn't make the situation any easier.
I don't know if I can do this.
Jackie whispered, her voice trembling.
I don't know if I can share him.
Marty's face softened, a flicker of pain in his eyes.
I understand.
He said, his voice filled with sadness.
I'm not asking this lightly, Jackie. I don't know how to move forward without hurting someone.
Narrator. Jackie's mind raced. She had caused this. Her affair had opened the door for another woman to step into Marty's life. She had to live with the consequences of her actions. But could she really accept this new dynamic? Could she live in a home where another woman shared her husband's affection? Narrator. The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating. Jackie's heart ached with the weight of her decision, and yet she knew deep down that Marty's love for her hadn't disappeared. It was complicated now, but it was still there, and despite everything, she still loved him too.
Speaker Jackie. I love you, Marty.
She said, her voice barely above a whisper.
But this is so much to ask. I don't know if I can handle it.
Speaker. Marty. I know. Marty replied, his voice full of regret. I don't expect an answer right away. I want to be honest with you. I don't want to lose you, but I don't want to hurt Marie either.
Over the following days, Jackie wrestled with the decision Marty had laid before her. Her love for him hadn't faded, but the idea of sharing him with another woman filled her with a deep, gnawing pain. Every time she saw Marie, she was reminded of the fact that this was the result of her own choices. Marty had been faithful until she broke him, and now they were all paying the price. Over the following days, Jackie wrestled with the decision Marty had laid before her. Her love for him hadn't faded, but the idea of sharing him with another woman filled her with a deep, gnawing pain. Every time she saw Marie, she was reminded of the fact that this was the result of her own choices. Marty had been faithful until she broke him, and now they were all paying the price. But as much as it hurt, Jackie could see that Marie truly cared for Marty. She wasn't a threat, not in the way Jackie had feared. She was someone who had stepped up when Jackie couldn't. And deep down, Jackie knew that Marie's presence had kept Marty from falling apart completely. The house was quieter than it had ever been, filled with an underlying tension that everyone seemed to feel. The children, sensing the shift in their parents, had grown attached to Marie, and Jackie couldn't deny that Marie had been good to them. But that didn't make it easier.
I don't want to lose him.
Jackie confessed to herself late one night.
But what kind of life will this be if I have to share him?
In the end, Jackie knew that the choice wasn't really hers alone. Marty had changed, and so had their marriage. No matter how much she wanted to go back to the way things were, the damage had been done. Her affair with Sam had shattered the trust between them, and Marty had found solace in someone else. And so, after long nights of agonizing over the decision, Jackie made her choice.
I'll stay.
She told Marty one evening, her voice trembling with emotion.
But I need time. I need time to adjust to this.
His expression a mixture of relief and sadness.
I understand,
He said softly.
We'll take it one step at a time.
Jackie, Marty, and Marie now lived in an uneasy but functioning dynamic. It wasn't what Jackie had ever imagined for her life, but it was the result of her actions, and she had no choice but to adapt. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Marty loved both women, and neither Jackie nor Marie wanted to lose him. In the quiet moments, Jackie still questioned her decision, but as she looked at Marty asleep in bed with her and Marie, who had been through so much pain, she knew that this was the only way forward. They had been broken, but maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to build something new.
That's the story I've shared with you today. Stay tuned for the next one. It's even more intriguing.